So last night, I finished a run of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, specifically the Shining Pearl version of the game. And there's an aspect I just couldn't wait, I had to talk about, and it's this sheer lack of difficulty, lack of almost any sense of challenge in these games. These games are so easy, I argue they're not even fun to play. They're just a slog. You're just going through the motions. To be clear, this isn't my full review of the game, so I'm just going to be focusing on this difficulty problem. I'm not going to be talking about the breathtaking new PS2 visuals, the crisp animations. I mean, look at those low kicks. I mean, the future really is here, boys. Nothing like that. This is a very narrow focused video, but this is a real problem I've had with the direction of the Pokemon franchise for several years now, and I want to be clear, I don't think Pokemon titles have ever been very difficult. I get they're intended to be like baby's first RPG, but it's been getting very egregious. I almost feel like the success of Pokemon Go may have had something to do with it. It kind of feels like that game came out, took off, and there was a hyper focus on this idea of like, oh, we need to make these games as accessible and easy as possible, and then we just cast this wide net. But I personally don't think that's the way to go. I don't think you're getting any more sales by making these games basically devoid of difficulty. So why do I feel this way about these games? First, the goddamn shared XP nonsense. If you haven't played a Pokemon game for a while, definitely all the Switch ones now, when you're in a battle, all of your Pokemon gain XP for every enemy Pokemon you defeat. So your entire party is just leveling up like every second that there is. The tone you get from leveling up, the, bum, 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 you're hearing that nonstop. I've been against this all along. I think it's stupid. One thing people will bring up with the shared XP is they'll talk about other RPGs, how your entire party will gain XP from battles, and it's like, typically, like 99% of the time, in games where your entire party is on the field at the same time. Like, Pokemon is typically 1v1. If you want to talk about like 2v2 matchups, and if one Pokemon just somehow didn't get an attack in, yeah, that teammate should still get XP because it's on the field. It can still get attacked in that, but in any RPG, if it's, Pokemon, anything else, if the character's not on the field, I do not believe they should be getting XP. And in this game in particular, it seems like your party gets way too strong, way too fast. With this being a remake, I kind of wonder if they didn't adjust the XP gains accordingly, because this wasn't a thing in the original versions. And it's like, I don't understand how people weren't playtesting this thing during development and go, we're just giving away way too much XP. My main party would consistently be like 10 levels or so above other trainers and gym leaders I'd encounter, so battles are just a bloodbath at that point. I'm annihilating most of these Pokemon in one shot. Almost none survive a second move if I'm using my stronger monsters. Also, I don't know if there's some weird scaling in terms of damage, but it feels like even when the levels are closer, enemy Pokemon have a rough time doing much of anything against my party, even if they have the type advantage. And that may have something to do with the other big factor, the affection system and its insane proc rates. If you're not playing these games, you may not know there are these affection and friendship systems that allow you to grow bonds with your Pokemon by using them and performing different actions, and then the Pokemon will be altered as a result. I want to say I like this idea in theory, right? I think it's cool having your main Pokemon have these unique traits because, you've built this bond with them over your adventure. The problem is the system is completely broken. The affection specifically can cause Pokemon to perform these like spectacular feats during battle, survive a killing blow with 1 HP left, getting more critical hits, even shaking off status effects like being paralyzed. If you are playing these games, you've surely encountered this in battles. You'll see like a little heart fly up from the Pokemon, messages like, this Pokemon landed a critical hit and wants to be praised. They survived an attack because they didn't want you to be sad. The writing is a little ridiculous, but this stuff happens way too often. Like, if you are going to have a system like this, it's something I feel should proc, like, maybe once in a big battle-type moment. That way, when it does happen, it actually feels special, rather than how it usually happens multiple times in any battles where you have multiple Pokemon you're facing. I mean, check this out. I was battling Volkner, who is the last gym leader of the game. He uses electric type. I've got a Gyarados in there because who cares? Nothing matters. His Octillery hits my Gyarados with a charge beam, super effective, but oh, Gyarados, he toughed it out so I wouldn't feel sad. Survives with 1 HP. So my Gyarados fires back, hits him with the Thrash, I think, and kills the Octillery. Then Volkner sends out his Raichu. So my Gyarados just survived with 1 HP up against, again, the last gym leader of the game's Pokemon who has the type advantage. He hits my Gyarados with a Thunder Shock or some electric attack, and wouldn't you know it, he toughs it out again! He toughs it out again. Didn't want me to be sad. I didn't want you to be sad, so I just keep living. It's like, what is going on? How is this real? So you combine these elements, the insane XP your Pokemon are getting, and these affection actions, and the game's just a total cakewalk. I would say these games actually feel more difficult in the earlier parts of the game. Obviously, when you're at your first 1 or 2 gym leaders, you just haven't had much time for these systems to really build up. And I'll admit the Elite Four at the very end was a little challenging because of its gauntlet nature. You know, you have to fight all the trainers in succession, but as long as you have some revives and potions, it's really not that big of a deal. And I would say that's even a bigger negative because it's like you have difficulty that's practically non-existent, flatline for 95% of the game, and then just one little big spike at the end, and then it's over. It feels like nothing matters. The enemy Pokemon are just fodder to absurdly drive up my Pokemon's levels. I attempted at some points trying to bring like appropriate level Pokemon into battles, like, you know, getting some lower ones in the party to match some of the trainers I was fighting, but it's a lot of work to even try to make a game out of this, and before you know it, those Pokemon will also be out-leveling the content. And it's funny when you talk about stuff like XP share, defenders will argue that, you know, they don't like the grind of having to swap Pokemon in and out to get them XP, how much slower that process is. The argument being mindlessly grinding XP isn't fun. With this game, I would counter by saying the entire game feels like a mindless grind. Every one of these big important trainer battles with gym leaders, Team Galactic commanders, whatever, all feel the same to me as blasting wild Pokemon for XP. Like I said earlier, it's all just fodder. You don't need really any strategy. Your Pokemon are so strong you can mostly ignore the type advantages, and even if you do have a situation where your Pokemon is at an extreme disadvantage, there's a good chance you're going to get all these procs, you know, shaking off poison, surviving last hits, and it's still going to make it through. You pretty much have to try to lose in this game. And how is that fun? How is that fun? It's not. And the question then becomes, as with any trend, where do things go from here? Like I said at the top, this has been an increasing problem for the series, in my opinion, over several years now. And once more, I get they're not supposed to be very difficult, but I mean, at this point, we're seriously talking next to no challenge. And so what comes after that? I mean, you're going to have fanboy seals clapping for literally anything that's done with this franchise. Of course, Pokemon games are always going to sell like hotcakes, but if they try to make this even easier, where do you go? I mean, in the next entries, you may as well just let the games autoplay. You know, do auto battles, then people could just, quote, play them with a bucket of popcorn in their lap and a soda in their hand. Maybe that's the future of this franchise. And of course, force that on all players, not make it optional. What, you don't like accessibility? Having to press a button's a pretty big barrier to entry, guys. Wow, you think when people play video games, they should actually have to, like, play? Gatekeep much? I mean, I guess you'd have a hit on your hand with the game journalist. They'll be giving the games 10 out of 10s if they don't even have to pick up the controller to beat it and review it. And I want to reiterate, before I close, this isn't my full review of the remakes. There are plenty of other things I don't like, as well as things I do like, but this seems like such a big issue, with such an easier fix than your traditional, like, broken, buggy game. I mean, these elements should just be dialed down, but you know, people should have the option to play without them, especially with these being remakes. People should be able to play a more pure experience without aspects that weren't in the original games. Just makes way more sense to me. Thankfully, we still have Pokemon Legends Arceus coming in just like a month now. Hopefully that game will require more than 2 brain cells to get through. And once more, this isn't my full review, but I had to talk about this because it's on another level. I don't think I've ever played, I gotta think about it, but I don't think I've ever played an easier AAA game than this. Maybe I have, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I think the quest to make this series as welcoming as possible has crossed into the realm of being so easy, it's not even fun to play. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the difficulty of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl in the comments. Do you think this series has gotten just way too easy, or perhaps not easy enough? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm getting too old, maybe the TikTok generation is just ready for games that basically play themselves, and that way they can spend more time on their phones and still beat games. I don't know. As always, I'm the Shy Guy, Johnny Zakari, and thanks for watching.